Welcome back to Echo Ridge. Today, we're going to be dipping our toes into a little bit of Civilization 6. Over the weekend, I started getting excited about the inevitability of Civilization 7, so I figured we'd play a little bit and see how it does on the channel, because we're definitely going to be playing some Civ 7. Now, it's been a quick minute since I've played, so we're going to be playing a little bit of a mortal difficulty instead of my standard deity. I'm going to have to knock a little bit of the rust off. And because I want this to be a relatively small series, maybe 5-6 episodes, we're going to go with a small map size, and also random leader. The only instance that I will be willing to restart on the random leader is if I end up getting Teddy. I think the last series I did on YouTube was with Teddy, so it wouldn't really make sense to do it again. So without further ado, let's see what we get. Not too shabby. This time we rolled the German Empire and Germany Barbarossa. And it's the beginning of every single game that I play in Civ. I take a moment and I pause at this screen. So before I even see the map, that I have an idea in my head of what we're going to be looking at. Now, the German Empire in this case is very military oriented. You can see we get an additional military policy slot, plus 7 combat strength when attacking city-states. They're also able to build very sprawling type cities with free imperial cities because you're able to build one more district than any other civilization out there, with the same population, that is. Now, I did adjust the UI in the options, so let me know in the comments below if this UI is too big or too small or whatnot. Very interesting start here. We have some snow, so I'm assuming we're either at the southern poles or the northern poles. Because the snow's below us, I'm going to guess we're at the southern. We have a nice pearl right here that is 1, 2, 3 away from what it's recommending that we take. We also have some nice gypsum, some copper, and some deer. I mean, this is an incredible start so far. If anything, I think I might make the mini-map a little bit bigger, depending on what the comments say, because just looking at it from my screen, it might be a little bit too small for you guys to check out, especially if you're watching on mobile. Taking a look at our starting location again with a little bit more detail, this is definitely where we're going to put down the first city, for the obvious reasons that it is a plains hill. So we're going to get a bonus to production because plains hills are the absolute bee's knees. With a city center there, it makes sense to have a harbor here and possibly a campus here, although we're going to go out and take a quick look. I'm big on early game exploration because if you don't understand what your map looks like, you can't really make good decisions. Not to mention the fact that because we chose random map type, I have no idea what this map even is. And already we did find a better location for a campus, so we will get rid of this map tack. I almost forgot to turn show yield icons on, because the second best thing about looking at a Civ 6 map, beside the bestagons, is obviously the yield symbols. And there's that bonus production and food that we're getting from starting our city on a plains hill, which we absolutely love. Taking a look at our early research, I think we're gonna try to head towards mining because this is one of the better tiles in our early civilization. Plus, we'll get the early access to chopping and we'll be able to tag team onto the copper as well. Now, normally when I'm playing on deity, I would always go for an early scout or warrior. Occasionally, depending on the terrain, I'd also look at a slinger because again, that early map reveal is incredibly important because we need to know where the enemies are going to be and who they are. So we're going to go with the early scout. I do want to get the monument going, but it's going to have to wait until we at least get one scout out. Turn 3, we've discovered Jerusalem, and we are the first person to find them, so it gives us that free envoy. I'm really happy about it because while I don't think we're going to go for a religious game, getting the early Pantheon would be very nice. And while I'm not 100% sure what Pantheon we're going towards, I can tell you I think we're going to go production heavy, as is pretty obvious with Germany, and the map sort of supports it. We get a +2 production bonus for every adjacent commercial hub, aqueduct, canal, and dam district, +1 production bonus for each adjacent resource, and +1 production bonus for every 2 adjacent district tiles whenever we produce the Hansa. So I'm thinking Hansa goes here, we'll end up chopping these woods early, and if we put an aqueduct here, it'll make that Hansa a +5, which is a ridiculous amount of production. It looks like there's some fresh water up here. I would normally like to put a city here, but I think it's a little bit too close to our capital. But the fresh water being supplied by the river is normally a decent place for a starting city, even though this area does have a little bit too much tundra. It also looks like there's some fresh water up here, so that might be a better location for a city. I think next up we're going to be going for a builder, because by the time the builder is finished, mining will be finished, and then we'll be able to throw down on the gypsum and possibly even the copper. Oh yeah, this is another golden production powerhouse area. If we can get a city center, say here, it'll be on a plains hill once again with plenty of food, and we don't even know what all the coastal resources are yet. So I'm not 100% sure that we won't just sit on the coast right here at this plains hill as well. But here on turn 6, our scout is complete, so we're going to move down south where I'm fully expecting to reach the bottom of the map. After looking at it and seeing the little warning message, Jerusalem was a little too close to this city center, so we would have to go one more tile out. But I've also noticed the crabs here. We have some wheat and some diamonds. I also like the fact that this is built on a cliff, which helps on the defense. So I do believe the city center is going to go right here. We found our first barbarian scout here on turn 8. As suspected, we are at the southern part of the map. And I realized I still have the kitty cat scouts. We need to get those changed back to the dogs, considering, well, the barbarian scout also has kitty cats, and I'm not playing that game. We are reloaded back in, and all is right in the world. We now are dog people again. And the dog people should have no problem going up against... Oh, they're dog people now again, too! As soon as Code of Laws comes open, we will be able to plug in the policy that'll give us a bonus damage against the barbarians. So for now, I think I'm just going to keep playing the stay out of the area game by blocking their advance. Because we don't want this scout to see our city, because then the barbarians will come, and then it's a whole thing. Now this warrior, on the other hand, will have no problem going up against this scout. And we've found, I'm going to go with Singy. This is good. It's going to give us +1 culture and science to adjacent tiles. And it boosted astrology. Look at all these beautiful yields. Delicious. So we know we're going to get a city here, so now I want another city right up in here. This barbarian camp will cause some issues, but let's go see what's inside of our wonderful goodie hut. The goodie hut gave us a free scout. It would have been great if it spawned up here, but instead it spawned down here, so I think we will bully up on this scout. And we've completed mining, which means we can start chopping as soon as we get some builders. And I do like chopping some of the resources to get our production online a little bit quicker. We have 4 turns until the builder's done, and then we're really going to be able to lamp this place up by throwing down some mines. Now I try to stay in our boosted technologies because it takes down the research costs so well. And so far, the only thing we've boosted is up here on top. So I think we're going to go into pottery because I want access to the granary, which is going to give us the +2 housing and the +1 food, which I so desperately want. Then again, there's also the option of going animal husbandry so I can get access to this deer. But I don't think I'm going to have enough charges out of this one builder because we're definitely going to be using a charge on the gypsum, on the copper, and then probably a chop from the deer. Somehow the scout just absolutely disappeared into the wild, despite being under zone of control, and a horseman spawned. We should be okay for now considering we are in a plains hill, but I am going to fortify until healed. This is one of those situations in some of the harder difficulties of Civ. When you start getting barbarians, we have them up here, and we have a barbarian camp somewhere over here. Oh, and it looks like there's another scout here. So this guy is going to go block this one's advance. So there could be another barbarian camp down here. But we're going to try to be very careful with our units so we don't have to spend more of our production on building units. Speaking of which, 3 turns left until the builder's done, and then we'll get working on that settler. Okay, now something's absolutely ridiculous. Somehow they just spawned another horseman. We saw them spawn a horseman last turn, and then they just spawned another one? Something's off. I don't like it. Ooh la la, another goodie hut here on turn 14. Show him what he's won, Pat. +1 envoy, I'll take it. We're doing all right here just by standing in a defensive mode. The horsemen keep plowing into our warrior. And next turn, if we survive this round, we will get a level up. So I'm feeling decent about it. I'm not going to take that extra envoy and throw it into Jerusalem yet, just in case we find another city-state. I'd rather keep the envoy in the bank, because there's no difference between 1 envoy and 2 inside of a city-state, so I might as well wait until at least I have 3. Big turn here on 15. We did survive the melee by the horsemen, and now we get our wonderful upgrade. We're going to go with Battle Cry, but more importantly, it's going to give us our health back. We also have the Barbarian finished, so right over there, here's our first mine, which also Eureka's Masonry. And as you can see, I really want to get started on the settler, but we still only have 1 pop. So the sooner we can get that granary, the better, because we desperately need the food. So I think in this case, we'll spend 1 turn into monument, and then next turn, we'll flip it over back into settler. Okay, this is just ridiculous. The horseman died, and then they spawned a barbarian horseman. This doesn't seem very fair. But we have a little bit of health, so let's just slam right into them. The wonderful scout with the exclamation point over their head has now seen our city. Nothing we can do about that right now, but we're going to go through our city center and work our way over towards this mine without getting captured by the scout. The scout should start turning around to head back to whatever encampment they came from to tell all the boys where we live. And now they spawned another horseman. I'm so very confused. But we have to get out of here now because we're about to lose that warrior. So we're going to change one. We're going to produce another warrior and then go into the settler. Right now we're stagnant with growth. Even if we focus 100% on food, it still doesn't matter because we don't have any good farm tiles here. So it might make sense to put a farm here instead of another mine. And while it's horrible, we are now going to gain another pop in 24 turns. That's not going to do it all. So as soon as that granary is done, we will switch over into it. On our civics tree, we're going to go right into craftsmanship because I want the production bonus for builders. And let's get discipline in there, and might as well put God King. It'll give us a little bit of gold. We're doing decent on production, plus the little bit of extra faith will help us get our Pantheon quicker. And we'll go double experience for our recon units. We did lose that warrior this turn, which means chances are those barbarians are going to be coming this way. Although it does look like this scout belongs to whatever camp is over here. And I'm still looking for it. We finished up pottery, so we are going to get right into the granary. And I think next is going to be animal husbandry because the deer will help. Our warrior finished in the capital, and now you can see this barbarian scout is heading back up north. So this is the one that we really need to stop. Otherwise, the horsemen's are going to come down here, and nobody's got time for that. Meanwhile, I'm plugging away at these barbarian scouts. We are getting a bonus to the combat because of our policy card, so it's helping a little bit. Turn 24, we did get our Pantheon. We do have a deer, so the goddess of the hunt would help. +1 food and production from camps. Because despite the fact that I think we're going to be fine on production, I really wanted to step on the pedal with it. We do have one fishing boat possibility over here, but there's not much else on the coast. And that's about it for food bonuses. Looking at it again, there is another fishing boat up here, and I don't see any other outstanding possibilities. I'm looking forward to hearing what the comments say about the choice of Pantheon here, because there doesn't seem to be much left that would have been great for us. I'm definitely not going to a religion game. Some of the production bonuses rely on marsh, oasis, and desert floodplains. We don't have any of that. So the option then becomes goddess of the hunt or production from fishing boats. And the fact is, right now we have more fishing boats in our future civilization than we are going to have camps. So, God of the Sea it is. Jerusalem's warrior is taking care of the scout on the western front, and we're about to take care of the one on the eastern front. So, temporarily, our barbarian issues are gone. It's not going to last too long, though. If you're ever curious, if you want to take a look at how we are growing, you can see up here that one of the mods I'm using has our growth of our cities. And when you see the one on the far left, it means we have cities with normal growth. And then we also have our happiness here, and you can see we have one content city, not too happy, not too sad quite yet. Here we are in our wonderful woods. We are going to get 23 production, which finishes the granary, and then gets our population to grow in 7 turns, which means I feel a lot better about going right towards the next settler. I was originally thinking this was a decent start, but with the amount of woods and the barbarians, I'm not so convinced anymore. Looking up what's next on our research, I wanted to find out where the Hansa actually sits, and it's over here in the medieval era under apprenticeship. So that means we need to focus here on the middle of the technology tree. I also know that Jerusalem wants us to train an archer, so I'm considering going with archery. Maybe after that first settler, we'll bust out a slinger and see if we can go kill a barbarian with it, and we can get archery boosted. I was also considering sailing because it's already boosted and we could use some fishing boats, but quite frankly, it's still a few tiles away before we'd even be able to use it. We could also make some early decisions by finding out where the iron is by getting into bronze working. It'd actually take less turns than researching archery would. So I think that's what we're going to do. Head straight into bronze working, reveal the iron, which may help us decide what we want to do next. One slightly worrying thing is we haven't met anybody else, so I'm starting to think this might be some sort of fractal or small islands map, which means we're not going to have any idea how we are doing until we get out into the sea. If we continue exploring up here, which we do have our warrior and our scout heading up, we're going to try to clear this barb camp, finding out what else is up there. If this is truly an island, we need to start advancing down sailing pretty quickly. We have another scout coming, so we are going to quick purchase a slinger. And maybe we can get the slinger to end up killing one of these scouts, which would definitely help. Not to mention, we need to make sure this barbarian scout doesn't make back to whatever camp it belongs to. Not to mention the barbarian problems over here as well. So I think we'll head back this way, pull back the scout a little bit, and wait till the slinger can come up. Oh, there must be another barbarian camp somewhere down here because here's a fresh slinger. Our settler's done here on turn 37, and we are going to do the very smart thing and let it go unescorted up to a city location. Now, because of the fishing boats and the gypsum, plus we'll get access to the wheat and the diamonds. 1, 2, 3. No, we'd have access to the wheat, but not the diamonds. Unless maybe this is our tile. Then again, that's a little bit further away from our capital, which means we'd be able to get another city somewhere and closer up there. The great news about this city location is there's plenty of food. Now, I would normally be itching to get another settler at this point, but we're still only sitting at 2 pop, so we're not going to do that. So I think in this case, we're going to grab another warrior, and then we're going to follow it up with the monument. That +1 culture would be very helpful in advancing us down to civics tree, and then we'll take another look after. Okay, mistakes were made. All right, the slinger came up, put some rocks into my slinger's head, and barely killed the slinger. We were sitting in the Tundra Hills. Unfortunately, that is probably the second mistake I've made so far in this game. We're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. Looks like we've met Poland. It is an honor to meet you. Would love to sample hospitality. Yes, sure. So not necessarily an island. Oh, wow. Look, they have a settler coming out right here. It looks like the barbarians have been hurting them too. This is really one of those times in the early game where we would want to steal this settler, especially considering it's also unescorted. Oh, we could also steal the builder too. It'd make Poland really mad. Their military strength is not too big, and you can tell they're having a hard time of it. They do have military somewhere, I just don't see it. I tell you what, if next turn we have some movement left on the scout, and we can grab both the settler and the builder, then I think war will be. We'll try to peace out from it very quickly, but that is much too delicious right there. Oh yeah, I think this has to go down. I mean, it won't be the brightest move I've ever made, but we do have Jerusalem sitting here in their middle. We might be able to get suzerain of them, so they would come to our help and provide a nice stopgap right here. 150. So they probably have 5 or 6 warriors and maybe a slinger and a couple of scouts. You can see their science is not great. We're not talking about my science right now. We're talking about theirs. But I also don't want to lose any of this area. Yep, sorry about this. Look at that. We now have a nice settler. So while this one is trying to skirt up the coast to get right up here, hopefully this scout stays away or Jerusalem ends up killing it. This one is, hold on, where is all this negative loyalty coming from? They must have another city sitting right here. We'll be okay. We'll be okay. It's going to be fine. I know this is the wrong coast, but I really am thinking about putting that next city right here. It would have access to the diamonds and everything over here to include these horses, some more gypsum, 2 fishing boats, and every tile connected to Singy. Maybe this tile right here would be a little bit better, because then we'd get both of the cattle, still have access to the diamonds, we'd get the easy science, because that's exactly where our city would going. Yeah, I think this is going to be it right here. No access to fresh water, that'll be an issue, but not too big of a deal. I'm trying to snipe kill this barbarian camp. It would still have a little bit of health, so I'm going to let this warrior hit it first, but I'm afraid that that is going to end up killing it. It's all coming together. We're definitely going to throw a Goje in because the plus 50% production to ancient and classical era melee, anti-cavalry, and range units is going to be huge. We'll take out double experience. And since we have our Pantheon, I don't really care about God King anymore. So I'm thinking I want the bonus production to builders, especially considering we have 2 more cities going down. Next up on the civics tree, we're going to go into military traditions because it's going to grant us flanking and support combat bonuses when we're in combat. Plus, we are about to clear that barbarian outpost, so it will get boosted, just like this. Turn 43, our settler did make it there 1 turn before the barbarian scout made it to our settler. All good in the hood. Except now the problem is, the other location for the city that I wanted is still sitting at a -18 to loyalty. We don't get our first governor title until early empire, and that's going to be a minute because we don't even have the monument finished, so we're only making 1.8 culture per turn. And without a governor, I'm not sure how well that would last. My other idea is we could put the city up here. It's outside the influence range. Oh, in fact, we could put it one tile higher. It only has a -9, but it does have access to fresh water, which would significantly help the housing situation. How did they get so much influence so quickly? Maybe it'll update next turn after Berlin's been sitting there for at least one turn. It could also be the fact that they're a population of 4, but it's literally only 7 tiles to Poznan and 7 tiles to Berlin, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. I tell you what, we're going to meet it in the middle. We're going to settle on this -4. We'll still have access to all these tiles. 2 fishing boats here, some gypsum, some diamonds, some horses. It's not ideal, but it's what we're going to have to do. And overnight it turned into a -6. I don't know what they're doing with all that loyalty, so it's pushing so hard. I'm wanting to take a quick peep up here, but I might do that with this scout after we get done dropping it off. Until then, I'm going to start guarding this city. Next up on the tech tree, we're just going to get writing. It's only 9 turns. We do have it boosted because remember, it is this middle of the technology tree we want to keep plowing towards so we can get access to the Hansa. By the way, I didn't notice any iron after we finished up bronze working. We can do a quick search. See if there's any iron tiles that just my eyes didn't see. There's one right here outside of Berlin. And it's also going to be next to this city that we're founding right now. We also got +3 era score for founding a city next to a natural wonder, which means we're going into a normal age at the minimum, which is really good news. And the next tile is north of the new city right here. We're already having influence problems. We need to get some amenities. That'll increase our happiness level. We have the gypsum done, but if I can get our hands on this diamond, that will also help. We're 145 gold, and builders are costing 215, so we might be able to buy one straight up. Unfortunately, I think we do need to buy another warrior for this area, just to keep pace with Poland until we can try to peace out with them. But first things first, because this is not on fresh water, it only has a max of 3 housing, so we're going to go in and get the granary. Looking at this hideous mess, we've made it 45 turns. And this is the first game I've played for a little while. So I had to get all the mods and everything going, so I think we're going to call it here for the episode. But first, we're going to need to take that thumbnail picture, and I think this is going to be it. Maybe call it something like Humble Beginnings? Because your guess is as good as mine on how this one's going to end up. So let me know what you thought of this episode, and if you had any suggestions or what you would be doing differently had you rolled this map. So until next time, much love, happy gaming, and I'll talk to you soon.